it's Jordan. I am the founder and CEO of Apothecary. I'm also a speaker, mentor, and teacher, and most importantly, here. And I am so grateful to be sharing this with you today because it feels really full and right. And so, if you're part of this group, thank you for being here, and also thank you for your interest in this type of work to bring more wisdom and success in different ways and redefining what that looks like to the world. And so I have a very important message for you today, and that is my problem child message. And so if you are someone who has considered working with me, if you are here listening to this, you're probably in my frequency for a reason. You know, these types of things happen for a reason, and when we start to tap into that, we can really kind of expand into this full potential, right? So I wanted to share with you a couple things. So this is a little bit about me and my story and how I got here, and then I also have a little thing that I wrote for the problem children of the world. Okay, so when I was in third grade, I remember, we were lining up, getting ready to leave, and Curtis, one of my friends back then, he was, I think he was teasing me about something, and I was like, you just wait, I'm going to be the first woman president of the United States, or something like that. And I remember, even until I got accepted into law school, considering wanting to be president of the United States. And I had to get really honest with myself and see, was that really what I wanted, or was I just trying to fulfill something that I said in third grade to prove someone I was right? It turns out that was the case. I don't really want to be president. If it was handed to me, would I do it? 100%. But with that being said, I still do want to change the world. And that has changed a little bit since third grade. But I also think that every person on this planet has the capacity to change the world. And the world really needs that just as much as each of us do. And one of the phrases that has always stuck with me is to be the change you wish to see in the world. And what does that really mean, So what I wanted to see in the world was more peace and love and understanding, and war didn't make sense to me, and all these misunderstandings didn't make sense to me. And so I want to see everyone happy, healthy, and fulfilled in their life. And the way that I see this happening is by everybody living their diamond gifts and being this unique piece in the puzzle. When we can honor ourselves and our gifts in service to others, it all comes full circle. And so before I get too far into the soapbox story, I want to go a little bit more into my story. And it starts with, as early as I can remember, I've always had this unique connection to Mother Earth and to nature. And even more so than connecting with people. And nature just made sense, and it felt comfortable. I didn't have to be polite. I didn't have to look a certain way, say a certain thing, and I didn't have to do anything, and I felt supported and loved. And sometimes what I would do as a child is run away. And by run away, I mean go up a little hill and down the hill right outside our property line. So to me, it was running away. But in this area, it was kind of like a little gully type thing at the bottom of the hill. And there was almost like 3 trees in a little circle. And I just loved going in there and just kind of having a little hiding spot that was my own. And here, I made some friends, the beetle friends, and so what happened is there's these beautiful blue beetles that were at one of these trees, and I just loved these beetles, you know. They were my favorite, and, you know, arguably my best friends back then, because, you know, I just would be in awe of these colors, and I felt so connected to nature that sometimes it felt like nature was speaking to me. And so from that time, you know, I evolved as a human, you know, got a little older, and then started coming into this incredible age called middle school. We all love that, right? And when I got to this time and place, things got even more weird. You know, my friends from elementary school that I had become close with, they moved, and so I was really kind of starting on my own and making new friendships, all while figuring out who I was. And at the same time, I also felt so distant from my family that they didn't even really know me. So it was really me, myself, and I felt like. And I got into this stage where it was kind of like this rebel side of me, right? I remember my parents were very strict with me, and they would have to call other parents, my friends' parents, to make sure I was going there. And this is like in small town northern Wisconsin, right? Like, a lot of stuff's gonna happen in middle school. So anyways, with that, I kind of, you know, got really upset, rightfully so. I mean, I was just trying to hang out with friends, and I was getting grounded and not allowed to do things, and this freedom was being restricted on me. And if you know anything about what I'm going to be talking about human design as a projector, a single defined, I need my freedom. So, you know, this is so important to learn as a family unit, to understand your kids and to support their kids in being their best self for the world. And so we can reduce these traumas and these conditionings that these kids have to go through. Okay? So at this time, you know, Avril Lavigne was my idol. You know, we were starting to like boys, doing like weird things, you know, and I remember one day I was outside in the summer and I looked up to the sky, and I remember thinking like, I really don't belong here, you know, like trying to figure it all out, and it's really hard. I feel like I don't belong, and I know that I'm not from here. I was like, can you just, you know, swing by and pick me up and take me home? Like, I'm good to go. And that was around, you know, middle school, I think. And, you know, my parents also thought that, you know, I was going to countless therapists, psychologists, counselors, and they couldn't quite figure out what was wrong with me. I was just doing, you know, unthinkable things, like hanging out with friends at the skate park and not cleaning my room. So, you know, I was a problem child. And then at that point, I was like, you know what? Fine. You know what? I'm not going to clean my room, and I'm not going to listen to you, and I'm going to do what I want, because you can't tell me what to do. And so I would sneak out. I would skip class. I would steal my mom's cigarettes and go smoke in the woods with a friend during track meets. And also, you know, one of the other funny things I'll share with you is my boyfriend at the time, he was kind of like, I think I was just dating him to piss my parents off. But he would come by my house at night. He'd come pick me up because I wasn't allowed to, you know, have curfew and stuff. He would come by in his car, and he would text me. He's like, I'm here. And he'd be rolling up, and my sister would come sleep in my bed, and I'd sneak out, and I'd go into his car in a rolling stop, and we'd go do, you know, whatever we felt like doing. But, you know, that is the problem child that I was, and I embraced it. I did not care that I was a problem child. I did whatever I felt like doing and didn't care about the consequences because I was already having consequences. I was the epitome of a problem child, and my poor parents didn't know what to do with me. But really, at the end of the day, what I wanted at that age, at all of these ages, was to feel seen, accepted, and loved for who I am unconditionally. And that's what most kids want, you know? And so through all of this, you know, kind of this transition from as a child into middle school and high school and this evolution of that, when I was in about the middle school range, my uncle, who was deemed a little cuckoo by the family because he did astrology and things like that at the time, which was, you know, very woo. And today I realize that he is one of the smartest people I know. And I look up to him so much as an independent third party who has so much wisdom to share with the world. Oh, thanks, Andre. And so in this conversation with my uncle, he read my astrology chart, and at this time, you know, I'm just a little kid and I have no idea really what's going on. And he said to me, Jordann, you're going to be a healer. And I was obnoxiously shy at the time and kind of stood there politely, wondering what in the F that means. And I think he noticed that when he started to explain this a little bit more. He's like, you know, like, doctor, nurse, hated blood, and all of that just did not sound appealing. Like a nurse wiping someone's ass. No, why would I want to do that? And I could have left this at that and just written it all off. But something about what he said stuck with me. And this is the power of using these tools as just that, tools to better understand ourselves and what we're here to do in the world. And so that has stuck with me. And today, you know, about 20 or so years later, I really feel like I have an understanding about what that means in my life. I am here to be a healer, and a healer of myself, of the individual, a holder of space for this sense of sacredness and awakening in someone's true self, their true purpose, so that we can heal the world one individual at a time. And that my question to you is, imagine what the world would look like if we started not only addressing these traumas and conditioning that is completely repeating in our minds subconsciously, and these patterns playing out in our life and creating things that we don't want. Imagine if instead of that, we were able to shift these traumas and these blocks that stand in the way of for fulfilling our nirvana, creating our heaven on earth, by simply being who the F we are. And honoring these diamond gifts, I like to call it, these unique things that each of us have. And when you listen to my podcast, this is why I invite people onto the podcast, because I believe in this. And so much so that, you know, I give everything to it. And I really believe that, you know, these diamond gifts are things that we were given when we signed our contract in the stars. People always ask me, when did you start your spiritual path? When did you awaken? And I always tell people, you know, it's written in the stars. It really is. And so when you came here and signed off on that sheet, what did you come here to do? And by honoring that, by discovering it and honoring it and living that, you can really feel this sense of fulfillment and happiness and peace, that settling for somebody else's life of checking off the boxes, getting married, having a successful job, having kids, than any of that would give to you. And not that you can't do that, but what if you could have it all? What if you could feel so fulfilled in just being who you are, and being all of who you are, and being celebrated for that? And so, with that, I believe that you were here meant to do something that nobody else can do, that only you can fulfill. And the question is, are you going to accept that invitation? And I invite you to come play and create your Nirvana, your heaven on earth, and to share your diamond gifts with the world. And I know that you have these, and I know that there are things you are meant to share with the world. And my mission and my goal and my purpose is to support you in fulfilling that and support the world. If everyone in the world was living their diamond gifts, imagine how many problems that would solve. And I believe that by just working with 1%, and I know that Bruce Lipton and many other teachers talk about this too, 1%, if 1% of the world started doing this, accepting and applying their diamond gifts, imagine what the world would be like. We'd be able to support each other in a collective basis and have a co-creative expression of an ecosystem that actually supports itself. And we wouldn't have this egoistic, greedy mentality of trying to get to the next level at what cost? Okay, so with all of that being said, that's a little bit about my story and how I got here. And from all of this, my vision has always been to change the world. And when I started my business, I thought that it was helping people transform stress into peace in the corporate world, because I was seeing that and living that in my everyday, and it was hard, you know? And, you know, it leads to a lot of substances and escaping, and, you know, the dissonance begins to grow in our body and in our soul calling, right? And the life that we're living. And so this place in between, does that allow you to come together, or does it keep you separate from yourself? And if you're experiencing this stress, overwhelm, burnout, sense of being lost, it's likely that you're not allowing that to connect. And really it's allowing, you know? Okay, so I was working with high performance professionals, and I love it. It's so fulfilling to help these people get a sense of peace and ease in transforming these blocks and these traumas. But when people started reaching out to me about working with their children, their teens and preteens, I was like, I was really amazed, because I've been working with kids for over 20 years. And I love kids, and I'm so good with kids. And if my parents and myself had these tools that I have further expanded and leaned into, that my uncle gave me a taste of, that stuck with me for my entire life, and it's making me emotional just talking about this. But if I had those tools, imagine how much more I could be supported in my direction, in my relationship with my parents, and all of this, you know, trauma, which I do not regret anything. I'm so grateful for everything that has brought me to this place. But if I can support these other children, and if you are a problem child, or if you were considered a problem child, fuck yes, be the problem child. Like, I just want to celebrate all of these problem children. And the key here is that you are not a problem child. You are the solution. And when we start to embrace these differences and these uniquenesses, then we can really start to, you know, release the need to create these blocks and these traumas. And when we can address them at a young age, think of all of the things that we can really get into alignment with, and kind of fast track this sense of success and fulfillment in our lives when we're trying to figure out what the F we're supposed to do here on earth. And it's not going to school, making money, and getting into the hamster wheel of life. It's not. Ask the people who have done that and see what they think. When people started calling me and asking to work with their kids, it just made sense, and it's amazing. So, and I think that this is, whether this is working with children or working with your inner child, it all starts at the same place. And the purpose of Trauma Apothecary is to address these traumas and the conditioning that we have taken on in our current life, in the womb, in past lives, ancestral, generational, and really get to the root of that so we can clear it all out, the things that we don't need, and step into our full expansive selves as co-creative beings of the world, creating our life on fire, creating our Nirvana that is fulfilling and peaceful and abundant, and best of all, it supports the ecosystem of all of us as a humanity, as Earth, as nature, as this entire ecosystem. Okay, and so my goal here is to work with this 1%. Like I talked about before, only 1% of the world was doing this work. The world would be an exponentially better place. And so if you are this 1%, I want to have a conversation with you. And I'll reframe that to invite you to have a conversation with me, because I would love to support this 1% in whatever way that I can. And I have an entire, closet full of tools to be able to do this. In addition, I've been there, and I know the thing, and it sucks. And I know also the other side. And so my goal is to help that 1% of the world access and apply these diamond gifts with confidence so they can not only experience their happy, healthy, and fulfilled life, but also fulfill their part of the unique puzzle piece, P-E-A-C-E, that the world needs. So with that being said, thank you so much for listening and being here and being you. It's incredibly needed. Right? And I have a little thing that I wrote the other day. It's a message to a problem child from a problem child. And it's rough draft, so I'm just going to share it with you raw. You can get this. Okay. So have you ever been called a problem child before? As a child, you were doing the wrong things. You were maybe bored in class. You didn't know how to connect with others. Felt like you were outworldly. Went to therapists, counselors, and more to find out what was wrong with you. And finally, you got sick of trying and failing to fit into this boring fucking box that society has put you in. And everyone else seemed okay with being, I think is the word. Maybe you grew distant from family and those who didn't understand you became a loner. Or maybe you assimilated to their brainwashing to be someone else, to hide and bury the real you. Until one day you couldn't bear the weight anymore. You couldn't live this life like this. You couldn't live like this anymore. You barely recognized yourself. And you felt the pain of abandoning yourself was just too much. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the Rainbow Warrior Society. Guess what? You don't fit in because you were meant to pave the way for a new world. A world that embraces differences and gifts, because we as a society and the global ecosystem need you. Can no longer risk the cost of everyone following a standard path. School, college, job, mortgage, retire, die. No. The world needs you. If you are hearing this, then you are likely my fellow problem sister, brother, family. And you've probably felt the calling in your soul and heart for quite some time, but you didn't realize what it was. You are not part of the problem. You are the motherfucking solution. And it's time for you to let go of the conditioning and unleash. I will embrace and cross it off. No, unleash who you really are, a rainbow warrior. You are here to pave a new path for the world to come together and create a new way of life that supports co-creation, collective peace, sustainability, and abundance, an ecosystem that sustains the world and a better place. This industrial era is over. This industrial era that sets us up to be robots and to go through a system of rings and bells and checking boxes and completing things to put out into this thing of an input and an output. Are you ready to step up? Can't remember. Are you ready to answer your calling? Ring, ring, rainbow child, step up, be you. You are being called. It's the universe, your soul, your purpose, asking you to have the courage to let go of the programs that keep you small and to answer your gifts and purpose. Ta-da! And I invite you to join the Rainbow Warrior Society. And in this place is where all of these people that are these problem children and misfits and loners and all of the things just trying to figure out their place in the world. It's a place where they can be supported, seen, accepted, and loved unconditionally in who they actually are. And what we're also going to do is we're going to get rid of all the things that aren't serving you, these programs, conditions, trauma, all of these things. 95% of your mind is subconscious, and the subconscious is what's running these programs. And the subconscious is what is taking things in the womb up to 7 years old, and even, in everyday life. And so what is important to do is to start, first step in Trauma Apothecary method is to have the awareness. And then we start working through, and we begin to have the discernment of what is ours and what isn't ours. So we can truly step into who we are meant to be, living our diamond gifts, creating our Nirvana. And if this is something that was interesting to you, I invite you to send me a message, and let's schedule a time to have a conversation and see how you can be supported in this. And with that, I just want to let you know you are amazing, you're beautiful and unique and so needed in this world. And I really, really believe that you can be the change, and you have these unique gifts. And I believe that you have the ability to turn them on and set your life on fire. It's just going to take courage and practice and willingness to learn and be supported. So with that, have an amazing day. You can check out some more things on Instagram and YouTube at Trauma Apothecary. And this is a place where you can come and learn all of these things in Success Apothecary on the Facebook group. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being you. Have an amazing day.